Welcome to the Tailoring Talk Show with me, your host, Roberto Revilla. I'm a bespoke tailor, menswear designer, and owner of Roberto Revilla London suit and shirt makers. This is the podcast where you drop in for the threads but often leave with something quite unexpected. I talk to self-starters and creators about their journeys, the highs and lows, and the lessons they've learned along the way. If you haven't already, please support the show by subscribing, and if you're listening on Apple Podcasts or Spotify, please help me out by leaving a rating and a review. We kick off season 5 of the show with a 2-part episode. I got to spend some quality time with two very special people, Paramjit and Bruce, a husband and wife team who founded the Crazy Gin Company after a drunken night in with a rubbish chicken tikka inspired them to take their Indian-British fusion upbringing and distill it into a gin. Part 1 is the story of how they met and how they started on their incredible journey and created the Crazy Gin brand from practically nothing and got their product into one of our most famous national retailers. You're going to have so much fun with them. I loved every second of editing this episode. It was recorded outdoors in Coal Drop Yards in King's Cross, London, the perfect backdrop for some good food, drink, and fabulous conversation with two of the most delightful people. Without further ado, here's part 1 of my conversation with Bruce and Paramjit, the Crazy Singhs. So I have the absolute privilege of being in King's Cross on a wonderfully sunny but windy day in Coal Drops Yards, which is actually a pretty cool place, with two former residents, but that's not why they're here today. They've come all the way down from the Midlands to be with me today to record this very special episode of Tailoring Talk. I'm with Paramjit and Bruce, the Crazy Singhs, owners of, and founders I should say, of the Crazy Gin Company. How are you both?
Really, really good.
Yeah, we're excited to be here.
So I'm not going to sort of deceive anyone. We haven't literally just got together. We've actually been together for about an hour. We've had a bit of lunch as well.
We've had a lot of food.
Yes.
We have had a lot of food. So we could do a little generation game of what we ate. So there was mackerel. So it was all kind of like little tapas, wasn't it? Which
It
was.
was.
Really cool.
Yeah, nice beef bavette.
Yes. Asparagus.
Kale.
Potatoes.
Yes.
Potatoes. There was some steak.
What else did we have?
Cold board.
A lot of bread.
Yes.
With
lot of
butter.
bread, a wedge of cheese.
Kimchi.
Spicy.
Very spicy. That had a bit of a kick, didn't it?
I think we had some quince.
I believe so, yes.
A pate. Was it a mushroom pate?
It was mushroom, yeah.
And then what was the other one that was next to it with the oil?
I have no idea what that was actually.
I
don't
ate
know if
it,
it's meant
though.
to be like a chutney or something.
I don't know if it was like duck liver or parfait or yeah.
Yeah.
It was good.
It was good.
And then there
Apple,
was
salmon.
apple, salmon, yeah. And I think that was it really. No, there was definitely more than that. But anyway, we had a good time, and I should give this place a shout out, but we've got no idea where we are.
There's no sign, no menu.
No, so I will make a note as I come out, but I highly recommend it if you're ever in the area. And the service was excellent, so thank you to all the staff here. So I'll give a shout out to it in the show notes. So anyway, we need to talk about these two amazing people. So we've known each other for a little while now, but this is the first time that we've actually had the opportunity to spend some quality time together. And as I said earlier, I feel just amazingly privileged because I've been a big fan of yours from the moment I first saw your story. And so that's what I really want to do, kind of starting off, is so your husband and wife team.
Yep.
How did you meet?
I'll let you go.
We actually met on Shardy.com. I don't know if you know what that is.
No, that's like Match.com for Desi's, isn't it?
It was.
Going back in the day.
I was on my 2-week free trial and I was umming and ahhing. Do I pay for this or not? And then
The most
Bruce,
Desi thing that you could do.
and Bruce's profile popped up.
Oh, well, first one.
No, I can't. I have to be honest. No, it wasn't the first one.
But was it before? Most importantly, was it before the end of your 2-week free trial?
Yeah, so I got a bargain here.
Result. There you go.
No SEO.
So a Shardy.com success story, but they didn't make any money out of it. Oh, that's really, really nice. That's really wonderful.
Actually, that was before the days of being able to stalk you on Instagram or
lovely.
Facebook or any of that. It was just taking you on face value. I was going to say it was an old-fashioned way to meet, but it wasn't an old-fashioned way to meet at all.
No.
There was no auntie involved in this one.
Oh no, but it's still such a thing in 2007.
Yes.
There's such a stigma around it. Like, you're on a
Like
dating
being
website.
online, yeah.
You're right. You can't get any luck any other way. Like, you don't go to bars.
I know a lot of couples that met on dating websites like Match.com. I haven't met anyone that met on Tinder yet, though. So anyone out there that's listening to this that has got a story to tell, then write into the show, and who knows, we'll get you on. It'll be a weird episode.
I was going to say, what kind of stories are you after? There'll be many stories out there.
Yeah, not the throwaway ones.
How did you meet your partner?
We met in a bar in the West End. So it's a much longer story, and I am desperately trying to keep my run of clean episodes on this podcast, so I'm not going to go into full details, but it'd be a long day at work. I was on my way home. I said to my colleague as we were halfway down the stairs at Oxford Circus, do you know what, we're not going. We're going to go and get a drink. And it was a very busy Thursday night in the West End. Everywhere was packed. We went to Ha-Ha's in Great Titchfield Street, which is now known as the Riding House Cafe.
Ha, I remember this.
Yeah, and I saw her through the window and said to my friend Craig, I think that's the girl I'm going to marry, so let's go drinking here.
Oh, wow.
Wow.
We eventually got onto her table, and she wanted nothing to do with me, as any respectable girl wouldn't. So.
But your first line wasn't that you're the girl I'm going to marry, was it?
No, it wasn't. The two of her friends sort of gathered around me, and but I just kept focused on her, and they soon realised. And one of her friends said, "Do you want to F my friend?" And I said, and I was pretty cool about it. I said, eventually, but I think first what I'd like to do is take her out on a date, and if that goes well, take her out to dinner, and if that goes well, a few more dates, and then maybe a few months down the line we'll get to that. So which I thought was, even my friend thought was really, really smooth. But then when I asked for her number at the end of the evening, she basically told me to F off.
Right.
So there we go.
To be continued.
Yeah, to be continued, because the rest of the story gets a bit kind of stalkery. So anyway, moving on. Trust me, it's more embarrassing. There's no embarrassment to your story, but definitely is. There's a lot more to it. Maybe we'll save that for a late night X-rated edition of the podcast. So it involved a rubber chicken and a rampant rabbit.
Okay. This podcast has to come out soon. Okay.
Yeah. So. Sorry, where were we? Okay, so how you met. Right, so before you got into gin, what were you both doing before?
I was working for the Metropolitan Police, and as a project manager. I had graduated from uni. I had a degree in psychology, and then I'd worked in retail, I'd worked in the court service, and then I'd made my way. Actually, it was around about the same time as I met Bruce. I'd just passed my interview to get into the Metropolitan Police as a civilian, and that's what I was doing. So no background in food and drink, other than I absolutely love eating and drinking. So this has been a perfect start for this podcast, having all that lovely food.
Yeah. Bruce?
Oh, well, yeah, I was that kind of person. I never wanted to leave university, so it was how many degrees could I do or courses.
So you were Van
Yeah.
Wilder, basically. You were
Yeah,
like the Asian
yeah.
Van Wilder.
Not so much the partying, but yeah. But yeah, no, I came out of my final degree, wanted to get into sports science, realised it was the time when if you're an Asian, you do not get into sport back in 2004.
Yeah, basically.
I used to go to train with the UK athletic team, and it was funny because you get a lot of the sprinters would come over and they say, yeah, but this doesn't make sense. I don't know what you mean. They go, well, if you're white, you normally need the management. If you're black, you're the trainer. If you're brown like you, are you the accountant? And I was thinking, no, never got that course. But yeah, no, I moved to London in 2006, and I was working I was contracted for property companies. And when I met Paramjit, I was a facilities manager for universities and hospitals. But yeah, so I've been around a lot of food and drink, just never actually doing anything with food and drink.
Yeah. And so where did the idea for Crazy Gin come about?
A very drunken Friday night. It was never on our agenda to make a gin, to make a drink. We ordered it's a Friday after work, and we both wanted Indian food. Bruce's parents lived 3.5 hours away. Mine lived an hour away, and we were not making a journey to anyone's house for Indian food. It's a bit embarrassing, and we were like, just order a takeaway, we'll be fine. And we ordered the takeaway, and when it came, our heart sank because we didn't realise we've ordered from this place before when the box arrived. And we were like, we'd never liked the food from this place. So you open it up, and then it was that plastic container with the wilted coriander stuck to it.
Condensation.
And we were just like, just wanted good mixed grill with the barbecue, the charcoal, the flavours, and we were just
Rubbery chicken is all I remember.
Something clicked, and we were like, I bet if you're not Indian, people think this is what we eat. And it just dawned on us, and then it just made us realise also about how many times we've eaten different cuisine, and we might actually think this is Chinese food, this is Japanese food, and actually it's not authentic at all. It's something that's been created for the Western palate. So I was drunk on Disaronno and Coke, and Bruce was on his bottle of red wine.
Bottle. Mega pint, I should call it.
Yeah, I mean, who needs glasses, right?
So we were just thinking about growing up in the 80s, our parents used to make fusion food for us. That's the way they brought the British and the Indian culture together for us. So we were just talking about, did your mum ever make spam curry? And Bruce was like, yeah. And then we were talking about the good old...
Wait, sorry to interrupt. Spam curry.
We call it spam sabji.
Yeah,
it was
delicious.
Sorry,
delicious.
with spam.
Oh gosh, because growing up in the 80s, it was that thing, especially in the Midlands, and it's probably the same around other parts of the country. Our parents would all work in factories and foundries, so meat was only ever for guests or the men.
Right.
So children, you're kind of screwed on women. You got no choice.
I forgot about that era.
That's what it was.
Yeah.
And I remember growing up in Wolverhampton. It used to be about 7-8 of us living in a 3-bedroom semi-detached house, and it used to be hilarious because it's that thing where 1 in 7 houses had the telephone.
Yeah.
1 in 2 or 3 houses had a fridge.
Yeah.
And the meat man used to come to the door, and you used to get your eggs to the door and everything. So it was always a luxury product. It was that thing of, if a guest comes, you have to make sure you got the meat.
Yeah.
Whereas if you're a child or a female, you're going to live on spam and tinned meat.
Looks like we're going back to having to live on spam
Very,
very soon.
It's gonna be like posh spam now. It's gonna be all
Funny you say
shortichified.
that, but when you look at the meat content of spam compared to some of the sausages people pick up from the
it's higher,
supermarket, it's so much higher. But I think maybe it's a marketing branding thing that spam does have this.
It's
got a
meat in
bit
a
of
tin
burn,
that's
it's
got a
meat in
shelf
tin.
life.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, it all kind of started back. We were reminiscing about growing up having the spam sabji or the full Indian English, which always used to be the eclectic spicy baked beans, eggs, whichever way you want them, and then the random fritters of spam, fish fingers and sausages.
It was anything that was in the freezer got put into the grill and off you go. Yeah.
And it kind of kicked off that mind of us thinking, parents always experimented with food. Now it's called fusion. Back then it was literally food.
Yeah.
And they'd always say, you're born here, you're British, but we'll teach you culture through spices. And we're like, so they were really good at doing it with food, but they never did it with drink. We're drunk. Like, what if we won that Euro Millions ticket where it's rolled over about 10 times, we're the only winner, so money's not an issue? Where would we begin? And that's where it all kind of started. And it was also off the back of MasterChef Australia, Heston Week. So yeah, heads are all over the place. Where do we start?
That's one thing. Before we started gin, we were either eating or we were thinking about food or we were making food. Our life honestly revolved around food. We'd come back from work, we'd make some food, then we'd sit down to watch other people make food. And then it really did revolve around that. So we were just like, I think at that point we'd gone full circle as well, in the sense of growing up for us. and I wonder if it's the same for a lot of people listening to this. It was hard to try to fit into your surroundings because we were first generation British Indians. I went to a Church of England school for my secondary school, and you want to fit in, and when you're growing up you just want to be like your friends, and I wasn't like my friends. On a Friday night they'd all go to the pub, and no matter how much I begged my mum I wanted to go to the pub, it just was not the done thing for Paramjit at the age of 16 to be going down to the, and it was the biggest taboo subject. I don't even know why I started talking about this.
No, it's okay, but I can totally identify with that as well. And I tell people my life was actually quite sheltered, and usually it's a joke in relation to they've been talking about something, pub, bar, drinks, whatever, and I'm just like, I have no idea what you're talking about, and they think I'm joking, and I'm like, no, seriously, I had a very sheltered upbringing. And they don't get it. They just think I'm being funny. But it's so true. I was watching the first episode of Miss Marvel on Disney Plus last night, which is Marvel's first Muslim or Asian origin superhero. And it's very much like Never Have I Ever, which was on Netflix, which was written by Mindy Kaling, which again is it's so identifiable for people like us that grew up during the 80s. We weren't allowed to go out with all of our English friends, basically,
No.
For fear that we would come back drunk, be led astray. Forget our heritage, forget our roots,
and turn white, which is never going to happen.
Whilst they're rubbing on Fair and Lovely.
Yes, the irony. Oh, I know why I was talking about this. We'd got to a point where we were at a stage in our life where we were proud to be British Indian. We didn't want to blend into the background of a different culture. We were proud of our identity. So we were just thinking, if we could create a British Indian drink and it truly represented us and celebrated us and our journey, and to show people, when you're Indian and you're first generation, you know what's going on, but when you're not part of that circle, it's a different world. Just like other people's journeys, if I went into their world, I'd be like, oh, this is how you were brought up and this is how you lived. I knew I was none the wiser, but for them it's normal. So how do we, through a drink, showcase all of that? And we were thinking about what could we show. We were thinking about tea, and then we were like, no. And then both of us, I think we were more or less at the same time, we were like, lassi.
Yeah, because a big thing was, it's no point saying, oh, let's make an Indian drink. What does that mean? India's huge.
Yeah.
Like in Punjab, our parents' villages are not, about an hour apart? But we'll say different things.
Oh, when
Every
we got
house has its own
married,
different
I'd
thing,
say,
yeah.
I don't understand what your grandma's saying. She's just saying something's corny. What does that mean? And it's like she's saying it's not very nice. Like, don't do things this way, do them this way. Or even the word blanket, we will call them both different things. And I'm just like, and we're both Punjabis, we're both Sikhs, and we're, like Bruce said, the villages at most in a car is an hour away from each other. So it's just about, this is our journey. We're not going to do the whole tokenism thing of we represent India and we represent. This is the first generation journey of both of us, and we were like, lassi. Both of our.
Because it came down to, because it's been Punjabi. We thought, what's the one thing that we know and we've been brought up with? It's been Punjabi. So you got the North Indian element, and we were like, okay, so what is the most Punjabi thing we could think of? And we started thinking about grandparents.
Yes.
And then we came straight to lassi.
Yeah.
It's just yogurt, bit of water, flavour it however you want. And that was the first element that we kind of went with.
And even on a Sunday, like, I love a roast dinner, but growing up, it was a paratha. On a Sunday, my mum would make a paratha.
Oh, God, yes.
And that
Not
cup
doing
of
anything
tea,
after that.
yeah. But then she still would have a cup of lassi.
Yeah.
And then because our grandparents didn't drink alcohol, for them, and they were farmers, so they had the cattle, they had all of the things to be able to make it at home. We were like, now, I'm just thinking, we're talking to you about it, look how much we've told you about our journey. And that's what we wanted the drink to do. So we were like, imagine if we started off with a lassi, and then being Heston we were just thinking about spices and what we've been brought up with, and then we started thinking of a tadka, which is like the basis of any dish, Punjabi dish that our parents would make. And we were like turmeric and coriander and black pepper and all of those things. That's what we'd put in there. But then we were both like, that's Indian. That doesn't tell you that we're British, and we're British Indian, because when we've gone back to India growing up, I've never been made to feel as if I'm Indian. I've always been made to feel you're a foreigner, you're British. And over here growing up, I've never been made to feel I'm British or I'm English. And I think our diversity tick box says a lot about that as well. You can't just tick one, what are you, British?
Yeah.
And then how many subcategories do we have that we need to fit into to be under there?
Exactly.
So it was about how do we show we're British Indian? And then we were like, we're drunk. Our grandparents didn't drink. Lassi is a non-alcoholic drink. Wouldn't it be amazing if we could put our spin on it and turn it into alcohol?
And then we started thinking, well, okay, well, what's the most British thing we could think of for a spirit? And we thought, oh, gin. Great, let's chuck that in as well. Yeah. So it literally was an
a bit of empire going in there as well.
Before he gets taken off us. But yeah, so we put the gin, and then we thought, well, we wanted depth of flavour to it. Because when you think of Indian food, you think of depth of flavour. So we thought, well, let's add some black cumin, adds that kind of floral note, and kala jeera. That's all it is, and again, it's another ingredient that we use. And then wanted a bit of sweetness, so we thought, well, let's add some pomegranate.
Yeah, but hang on a minute, because I'm still back in that living room or wherever where you're with this disappointing takeaway and you decide that this is what let's come up with a gin, right, that represents our heritage, tells our story and so on, which I think is so wonderful. I'm not a gin person. I'm just going to say this for the listeners' benefit as well. Although a couple of weeks ago at someone's 40th, you'd have thought there was no Hendrix left in that bar. But I'm not a gin person. Like, one of the worst things that has ever happened to me is going to someone's birthday and they had a bar set up and I was like, oh, but do you have any wine? And even more my wife, I will be open to trying things, but Carolina is like, does not do gin whatsoever. And they said, no, we've got the bar set up and the guy only does gin. So if you want a soft drink, go in the kitchen and find something. But
wow.
And we've gone all the way up to Warwick. Mikey, if you're listening to this, I'm so sorry. We were so happy to see you, and the roast, the beef that you did that night for everybody was absolutely amazing. But yeah, just try some wine next time, please. And I can't remember what I'm talking about now. Anyway, sorry.
We've not had any drink, by the way.
No, we haven't actually. We've just been on still water so far. Yeah, not yet. But no, sorry. But the fact that your story, you're trying to tell your story through your product, makes me, now I really, really want to try the damn thing. And I've had 2 sample bottles sitting at home for the last 3 or 4 weeks. But that makes it very, very special. So you sort of look at each other in your drunken haze and like, yeah, okay, this is what we're going to do. But
it wasn't what we were going to do at that stage.
This is just an idea.
This was just an idea because I don't know, something within us. I think it was spending money and not getting your money's worth, being really disappointed, and then having that light bulb moment. We know this is not what we eat. We know the standard of Indian food is so much better than this. But I wonder how many people think this is the best of it, and it's not the best of it.
When we first moved to Mill Hill, Carolina had already had a trip booked, so she was abroad, and I moved us into that house. And I think I asked someone who lived locally for restaurant recommendations, and I was like, do you know what? I fancy Indian food. And so they said, go to Day of the Raj. It's like the jewel of Mill Hill. It's the best Indian food in northwest London. Okay, no problem. Ordered, delivered. I didn't even need to taste it. I took the lid off the first thing and I was like, this doesn't even smell like the real thing. And then I took a bite and then I threw the whole lot in the bin. And I was like, this isn't Indian food. And it was so disappointing. And what's obviously happened in different regions of the country and so on is that recipes have been diluted and adjusted to suit the local palate. And I think that is so wrong. I really, really do. I think subtle adjustments are fair enough because obviously, if you've got an indigenous population that can't handle heat, then, that's one example where you might adjust your flavourings and so on. But to go to that extent where to someone who's got, like in my case, Indian and Punjabi heritage, grew up eating this stuff, to have that bad a reaction to it. And so again, why am I going off on a tangent on this? But it was just so disappointing.
Yep.
It really was. So I remember what then happened is that our handy guy, Jit, he was doing all the kind of lamps and stuff at the house and so on. And so I was telling him what happened. And Jit is proper, Punjabi Sikh, all the rest of it. So I said to him, Jit, where do you go for curry, right? Because I said, they recommended that place and it was absolute garbage. And he goes, well, just go Honey Pot Lane, innit? Kenton. And I was like, what? He's like, yeah, Kenton, Queensbury, just go up there. And I was like, oh man, why didn't I not think of that? So that's basically where we will hang out now when we want Indian food, because that is where all the authentic. It's probably because all the Indians live around there as well. But anyway, sorry. So I from a consumer point of view, I totally get what you're trying to say there.
I think a big catalyst on that drunken Friday night was watching MasterChef Australia. They were doing a week where it was about indigenous products, and the fact is they were so proud. And it's like, this is what's grown here, locally sourced. It's not something you can get anywhere else. And they were so proud about the kind of locality of the ingredients. And we're like, listen to that pride. Look at what I'm looking at.
And they were pushing boundaries,
Yes.
was it? It wasn't a case of, we've got one sauce, what do you want? Do you want chicken? Do you want lamb? Do you want rolls? Do you want tofu? Do you want
Here's a
paneer?
sauce, what you want, I'll chuck it in the
No,
inside now.
no, it's that pride.
Yeah.
It is that pride. And I think now, looking back, the climate for food and drink has changed a lot, because there's so many places popping up where they will only do sometimes just one thing, and they do it to the best of their ability, and they're not tweaking it, they're not tailoring it for anyone, because this is what it is and this is what it tastes like. And it's okay, not everyone's going to like everything. Let's grow up a little bit on that as well. We don't have to all like everything, because some things I'm going to really enjoy and other things I'm not going to enjoy as much.
Yeah. Niching down is something that is talked about quite a lot nowadays. When you listen to business podcasts and so on and so forth, it's kind of trying to pick the things that you do the best, or you can do to the best of your ability, and just stick to them. Don't worry about doing anything else. And you're not going to get everybody, but we don't necessarily want everybody.
I think a key example is Chinese food. Years ago, it was just Chinese food. It could have been anything, Vietnamese, Thai, this. It would have been classed as Chinese food, but now it's broken down into countries, and then those countries then broken down into regions, then those regions are broken down into dishes, and like I said, niching down. But Indian food doesn't really happen as much. But yeah, so that's kind of where the whole drunken idea came from.
And then we went to sleep.
Yeah, but I did wake up hungover the next day. I went down the rabbit hole like that tends to happen with me after a few drinks. And I just was like, oh, I really hope somebody's made this, because I will buy it right now. I must have spent God knows how many hours on that Saturday looking for it, and I couldn't find it. And then strangely, I came across somebody. I did think to myself, I can't get it because no one can make it.
Yeah.
So, damn it, there goes that idea. And I thought, well, hold on, let me keep going down this hole. And I came across somebody who did a cream gin. And they happened to be distillers. So I thought, in my hangover, I thought, I'm going to send them an email. I didn't discuss it with Paramjit at all. I thought, hey, do you know what? Let's ask them. A, is this possible? And B, can you make it? And the message back on the Monday, I think, and they said, yeah, it can be done. You need lab equipment, and we can make it for you. And that's kind of where we just looked at each other and thought,
Could be an idea. Could be a
an
business.
idea.
Yeah.
Let's go and give it a go.
Yeah. So a lot of people who've got kind of quote unquote stable jobs and incomes, and then have an idea, then don't act on it or take it forward because they're obviously scared of taking the risk. And then you get the risk takers like us who basically say, do you know what, hang it. How long did it take, and where was the moment where you were kind of looked at each other and you said, do you know what, I'm not having fun doing what I'm doing. This is something that I think we can really do. Let's give it a go.
So I think I fall into the other camp. This is where our relationship's quite interesting. I'm quite risk averse, whereas Bruce, you're very much let's just give it a go, which we need a little bit of, but I'm trying to let go. But I think what had happened around about the same period, we lost Bruce's dad to MND.
Oh, no,
And I'd only
sorry.
known him, thank you, I'd only known him for a couple of years. And he used to be the life and soul of the party. If you ever went to a gathering, if there's a crowd of people, Bruce's dad is in the middle of it.
Yeah.
And
telling the jokes and just bringing everyone together.
Yeah.
And I think he was your typical Asian dad where he'd be when I retire, because we'd always say to him, Dad, why do you only ever travel to India twice a year? That's it. You know, there's other places in the world. He's like, oh, don't you tell me what to do. Listen, when I retire, I'm spending 6 months in India, 6 months here, and I've done my job. You guys sort
I'm
yourself
happy.
out. The day that he retired, well, about a week after he retired, he wasn't well and he was diagnosed with MND. And within 6 months, he passed away. And this is someone who used to wake up every morning, work out, bike ride. But ironically, he was told you can't work out because MND, the whole issue with it is the more you stimulate your muscles for growth, it can't regenerate.
Yeah.
So you actually break itself down. So when he passed away within 6 months, it literally had that effect of us thinking, I don't want to be in my dad's position thinking, if only.
I think it was deeper for us because he'd gone out, he was told, you've not got long, do what you want to do, and he was adamant he wanted to go back to India and see his dad, who was still alive at that point, and his sister, and he wanted to go there and he didn't care about anything else. So he went out there and he was supposed to come back with our sister-in-law back to England, and Dad being Dad was like, nah, I'm going to extend it, I'm not coming back. And then literally within a week, I think it was, we got a phone call to say he's gone into hospital. He doesn't want to be in India anymore. Someone needs to bring him back. And
His insurance had just run out.
So my brother-in-law and sister-in-law couldn't go. My Bruce's mum couldn't go. So we got our emergency visas and we went out to India. And both of us, the only time we'd gone out to India was with our parents. So you feel a little bit sheltered. And all of a sudden, it was completely different because we were the responsible adults and we were responsible for bringing him back home. But then it's a parent, and more so. I'd only known him a couple of years.
The whole plan was just to get out there.
We went on a Thursday.
Pick him up.
Sunday was our flight back.
I was contracting, so no time. You're not coming in here getting paid, but also it's that time of, in the property industry, you can't just afford to take time off because they'll get someone else.
Yeah.
So I said to him, we're going out Thursday. I should be back by the Monday.
Yep.
As soon as we got there, he just deteriorated, and he just turned to this big, long, drawn-out thing where we were stuck out there for 4 weeks.
Yeah.
Ironically, I almost became an overstayer of my visa in India. Would have been cheaper just to kick me out, but I think that whole journey, it was a lot. When you think you're only going there for 2 days, about 3-4 days, you ain't got 3-4 days worth of clothes, and you're stuck out there literally sleeping on the floors of hospitals and instead. And you're thinking, there's so much money in India. Why am I sleeping on the floor here? What's going on?
And it's a system we didn't know. It's a different culture we don't know. And I think every country works differently. And when not just every country, you come to London, there's a different vibe. You go to the Midlands, it's a different vibe. Things work a different way. And when you're local, you understand it. And when you're an outsider, you don't. And
Hence the term local knowledge, right?
Yes. And as soon as people know that you're from abroad and you're from England, automatically you're thinking we're going to get jacked.
Yeah.
That was the other thing, sitting there, being female. It was little things like couldn't even go to the toilet down the road. I had to take someone with me because you're always worried. But the thing I will always remember, Dad went from being in the centre of a party to lying in a room, in a bed, and he couldn't even scratch an itch. And I was just like, when you go on your own. No one knows when that time's coming, how we're going to go.
Yeah.
But you're left with your own thoughts at that last moment. And I don't want to be sitting there having regrets, thinking, if only I could have done this. If we're going to do something, we need to do it on our terms. We're never going to please everyone. We just need to know, did we live the life that we've got to the best of our ability and on our terms? And we got to that thing of, if someone can make this gin for us, we've got full-time jobs, let's give it a go. And I think it was that calculated thing of what's the worst that's going to happen. And if we broke it all down, it would be we would invest some money. If it doesn't work, we would lose that investment, but we would carry on working and we would keep building it up. Yeah. We've still got a roof over our head, we've got clothes on our back, and we've got food.
We still had our jobs. And I think the other side of it was, if you're going to make something, make it bloody good.
Yeah.
Like, give a damn about it. Not like that curry who's such a catalyst, it still sits in my mind. Yeah. It's like, for you to... I'm from the Midlands, so getting a mixed grill should be easy.
Yeah, it should be.
That mixed grill, and I'm not going to say what the place was or describe the box because everyone will figure it out, but it just sat in my mind thinking, that you should be ashamed of yourselves for that. But yeah, so we kind of, with what happened with my father, it was that case of, do you know what, let's give this a shot. What's the worst that's going to happen? All right, we lose money. but we still got ourselves. But at least we can say we tried.
Yeah.
Not that if only.
Yeah. But sometimes it takes, I mean, it's obviously awful, but sometimes it takes a tragedy to be the catalyst that propels us to action, right? I mean, I started my business just out of frustration more than anything, because I was working for other people and I was just like, look, you guys are charging more and more every single year and the product's getting worse and worse and I just can't do this to my customers anymore, so I'm going to go do this myself. And I think also because my dad worked for himself, my grandfather bought his business over from India back in the day and I grew up within that environment. So it was probably always that I was going to go work for myself, because I'd had it drummed into me that, you know, why are you working for Kaur and letting them tell you what to do. I think now, particularly the last 5 years, when I jump into things, because I relate to Bruce, because I imagine if we were in a plane and it was, you know, he was like, you're going to jump out of this plane, guys. Paramjit would be checking the parachutes and everything. Me and you would have probably already jumped out, and halfway down I'd be like, Bruce, you haven't got a parachute. And you'd be like, Bobby, you haven't either. And I'm like, yeah, I didn't think about that.
Yeah.
We need to figure this out now.
I see someone down there, let's get to them. Yes, yeah.
And, you know, after I had my accident in 2017, again, another long story, which is not for this podcast or this episode because you're the focus, but basically I was on my Vespa, stopped to let people cross the road, and a lorry came straight through the back of me and almost crushed me to death. So that suddenly puts life into perspective, because as you quite rightly said, we don't know when it's going to happen. We don't know when our ticket's going to get punched. So, and in those last moments before we do go, do you want to have your head filled with regret, or do you want to at least be able to say to yourself, do you know what, I'm really glad that I did and that I lived the life that blah, blah, blah. So, so I can totally relate to that.
I think it's being authentic to yourself and living, that it's that authenticity.
But I think we also did look at each other and through that rant that we had at each other about growing up and all those different things, and also that side of being embarrassed. I mean, we all remember opening up the freezer door at home thinking, yes, we got some ice cream. No, you haven't. That's a doll in there or something like that. Or your mom's packed your lunchbox and you go to school and you open it and it's a smell. It's like the reverse of the effect of the bacon advert, where everyone smells the bacon, gets all excited. It was like the repellent version of that. But it was that embarrassing element that we had. But now we were like, we're proud of that. We grew up with that, Joe. That is our culture. Yeah. So let's do that with a bit of pride and have some fun with it as well. Yeah. So I think that's a key thing. It can get really serious, but we were like, the initial idea was just to have fun and take that culture, and normally alcohol helps you have some fun. So we're like, how do we add that to the alcohol?
So you have the idea.
Yep.
You then went and found someone that could actually make it for you, or help you to make it. Now you've got to launch the company and come up with a name. So how did you come up with the Crazy Gin Company?
So that one was literally, we had this idea and we'd already instructed these people to make it. We hadn't told anyone in the family. Then I told my brother and he's like, do you know what? Because he was similar mindset. He's very risk adverse like Paramjit, but he was a case of, do you know what? Give it a shot.
Yeah, why not?
He was like, look, you're an adult. You would have calculated what it is. If it works, it works. If it doesn't, it doesn't. Good luck. I'm rooting for you. Polar opposite with my mom. Told her there's many words that she said in Punjabi. I won't repeat them. Quite offensive.
You can, don't worry. No one listening to this podcast will understand.
You should have told me that before.
Yeah, I don't want to go to tell. But no, she turned around. She goes, "Tusi pagal ho?" Yeah. As in, are you crazy?
Are you absolutely mental?
We're like, Pagal means crazy. That's a pretty decent name, you know. Like,
thanks, Mum.
Yeah, it's like, cheers. I'm gonna stick that on the bottle, and that's where the name came from.
It's this conveyor belt of life. I think we were quite philosophical at the time, especially with Bruce's dad passing, and we were just like, so many people do their 9 to 5 and they'll complain and they look forward to the weekend. Now, are they crazy? Are they the crazy ones for doing something that brings them misery? It might bring them the paycheck, but they're not fulfilled, they're not satisfied. Or are we the ones that are crazy that are going to try to do something on our terms that will bring us joy, that will bring us fulfillment? So, and for us, it wasn't something to be ashamed of. Crazy was just like, you're the ones that are daring to go for it. Some people will see you crazy, but you need those people. Otherwise, the world would be a very boring place.
Extremely.
It'll be same old, same old. I'm looking at all of the things around us. People used to sit on the floor once upon a time. Did whoever invented the chair think, what do you need a bloody chair for? You're perfectly fine. You can sit on the floor.
Yeah.
A table to eat on. The sunglasses you're wearing. Someone came up with this, and that always fascinates me. When we walk around, whether it's a bridge or this wall, someone thought about putting together bricks, the water. If we stack it's fascinating. If we look at the world around us.
Have a friend and client of mine, David Viana, and so I and another client and very good friend of mine, Daryl Cornelius, we started this kind of little club that we used to do, and every month we would each one of us would take it in turn to pick a different restaurant, usually a Michelin star one, and then go and eat, right? Just to try different places out and spend time together, just like three guys away from the other halves and all of that. Eventually the other half started to join in, so then if they're listening to this, it made it even better. But you know what David used to do? He used to sort of, after a few drinks, he'd go into these funny little kind of monologues or whatever about, just anything, right? Like, I don't know, black cod, who at some point, or scallops, right? Scallops are really unusual little things, right? Who at some point, someone was sitting on a beach and came across this creature and thought, if I just put a little bit of lemon on it and maybe do a bit of this and then stick it in my mouth, it'll taste great, right? And someone must have thought, freaking crazy. Like you were talking about not growing up earlier, having fish as a thing, and I'm the same as you. When my wife first met me, she thought I was freaking mental or something, because we went to a restaurant, she orders a whole sea bass and proceeds to literally eat this fish from tail to head last, and then get into the head, like save the head for the last because it's a delicacy, eat the cheeks, eat the eyes and everything. And exactly. The reaction.
I'm not a celebrity, but get me out of here.
If I didn't fancy her so much, I would have just walked out. But I sat through it, but to her it's natural, because that's what they don't in Spain. They don't feed kids baby food like that. Millipede stuff and so on doesn't exist.
Yes,
they just feed them what the grown-ups are eating.
Yes.
They might mash it up a bit if the kids haven't got teeth, but that's what the kids eat. They eat what everybody else eats, and so. What was I talking about? Oh yeah. So, but at some point, right, someone took a fish out the sea and said, maybe I could stick this on a grill and eat
ugly,
it.
Ugly, if we think about
some
it.
Some of them are horrifying to look at, right? And thought that was a really good idea, and everyone around them thought that was freaking crazy, and then a whole industry was born out of it. Whoever invented the wheel, right? Presumably they were using squares before, but someone obviously said, if I just smooth the edges of this thing out, and everyone might have said to him, are you crazy, Jeff, or whatever the caveman's name is?
Caveman Jeff.
Yeah, exactly. Well, if I just smooth the edges out, then it will be easier to roll it.
Ford and horse and carriage and cars, and you need people to think differently, the innovators.
Elon Musk is probably one of the greatest examples, and Steve Jobs in recent years as well. When he had the iPhone and the iPod, 1,000,000 songs in your pocket, or whatever it was, 1,000 songs in your pocket. You need a bit of crazy, right? You need people who are going to think differently and kind of take those chances and those risks. So, well done both of you for putting your feet forward and going for it. So the logo, I'm going to put this up on the Instagram page actually. I absolutely love, because I'm into my cats and into my big cats and so on, but it's a lion wearing what looks like sunglasses or spectacles. No, so is it meant to be you?
So there's a few different logos. We probably have confused people. So what we have is the actual gin itself.
Have I just distilled the brand?
No.
Did you get that joke? He didn't get that joke.
Yes, I did.
Sorry.
I was in serious mode there.
Too early?
How dare you? I haven't had any gin yet. That's what it is.
We were friends up until 5 seconds ago.
No, so we launched a gin, and so we had the name, we had the liquid. We chose a nice dark bottle because we thought, wouldn't it be cool to mess with people's head? There's yogurt in the gin, there's turmeric, where it looks like water. So let's put it in a dark bottle so you can't see that it's clear, so it's got you guessing. There has to be an element of, it's a little bit of mystery, suspense. You pour it, there's a bit of theatrics. But we thought, well, what the hell is it supposed to look like? I kid you not, I used to work in Knightsbridge, so I'd spend lunchtime going out to Harvey Nichols, Harrods. We pop into local Tesco's, the Sainsbury's, the Waitrose, the John Lewis,
Whiskey Exchange.
everywhere. Whiskey Exchange. We were looking at all these amazing labels. There's multicolored labels, there's special cutouts, there's different textures, there's reflective. And I just went back, Googled it, spoke to a couple of people, and I said to Paramjit, put the phone down, thinking, yeah, that's not happening. It's like, my gosh, that is expensive. And we were like, okay. So, and this is where the positives came out of having a lack of funds. You become more creative.
Yeah, of course.
So I was like, okay, what is the most luxurious things that I could think of when it comes to wine? It's the paper on the label. It's that nice texture. So let's get a textured paper. The only thing we can afford is two-tone, like literally black on white. That's about all we're affording. So we thought, how do we make that look cool? And then Paramjit said, well, why don't you put your glasses on the bottle? Oh, that's cool, because we always wanted to turn crazy gin almost like the inspiration from Jack Daniels.
Yeah.
Whether you drink Jack Daniels or not, most people know Gentleman Jack. Especially on the tube, you have those awesome stories that they have about him. It's a character.
Yeah.
So why can't we turn crazy into a character? So he's got glasses, and then perhaps let's put a beard on the bottle. Right, so the first draft that came back, Paramjit took one look and said, why does it look like there's a dog on the bottle? So how'd you get a dog? And I looked down and thought, oh, you're right. Yeah, no, we can't do that. So we went with a moustache. So the whole purpose of the bottle is to look like a face. So that's the character Crazy Gin.
But the glasses, you're right, Bobby, are Bruce's, because it's our journey. It was full credit. We had a drunken idea, but Bruce was the one that pursued it. You're the one that did the research to see can it be done and made the phone calls. And we just needed that to come across. This isn't owned by multimillionaires and it's part of a bigger brand. These are
contract distilled in big quantities and we just white label it.
No.
It has to be our journey.
Yes, this is our journey.
And so that was the initial label. The label Bobby's talking about at the moment is the line. Because I call myself the Crazy Singh, and it's only because on Instagram I could not get Crazy Gin. That's a card game and someone took that a long time ago. So we went with the Crazy Singh. And Singh meaning lion. We thought, hey, why don't we make a logo with a lion with glasses? And that'll be representing myself. So I'm the Crazy Singh.
And I'm the Crazy
and
Kaur.
Crazy Kaur. And we just got to wait for the logo to be done for that one. So there'll be a story built around it.
Yeah. So remember that, everybody. So on Instagram, you find these two. You got the Crazy Singh and the Crazy Kaur, and the Crazy Kaur is Paramjit, and the Crazy Singh is Bruce. Because I didn't know that for a very long time. So I used to keep They used to direct message, well, they still do. We used to direct message each other all the time. But I didn't know which one I was talking to, and I didn't have the guts just to say, sorry, which one is this?
Aww.
And so what I used to do is keep all my messages very gender neutral. Like I wouldn't put like little, X's, which is what I would do for Paramjit now. You get a double cross.
Nice.
No.
Nice.
So anyway, there we go. I'll have all of their Instagram stuff in the show notes anyway. But yeah, no, that's really cool. I mean, I pick up on the glasses straight away because when you've got the logo on your shoulder there, on your hoodie, and then, but it does mean that you can't experiment with spectacles now. You have to change the branding again.
Yeah. It's believe me, it's hard enough to get spectacles as it is. So it's like, but we'll stick with this.
Our 3.5-year-old likes to bend ons, and the arguments these two have over them.
It's like, listen, son, I can only afford one pair. Can you stop bending them? So yeah, so we had the logo and everything. And actually, the next stage of that was when a family would laugh at us, say, who's going to stock at your corner shop? Because their view was, look, actually, there's a fair few people in the family, they were like, business people are born. It's genetic. And it's also luck. I said, oh, really? So why did you also get excited when your friends would send their children to business studies?
Yeah.
It's like, I thought they're born, they ain't got it. Why are you sending them there?
It's a mindset which I'd never come across before. I didn't know people think that you can't become a business person. You're either born or you're not. And if you're not, which is the majority of you, get on the conveyor belt and work and get on with it. Get married, have children, get a house. I don't know which order this is going in.
They say that about salespeople as well, because for all intents and purposes, that's what I am. I mean, I guess that's what all of us are. But, they say... sales can't be taught. You're either born a salesperson or you're not. And I disagree with that. I think everybody's born a salesperson. Any child, right? What does a 3-year-old do in a supermarket when it asks for an ice cream and you say no?
It's pitching.
What does it do? It throws itself on the floor.
Yeah, tantrum,
right?
Tantrums.
All
It's
the
a
rest of it.
negotiation.
That's all the negotiation. And then what happens is you say, if you get up off the floor, right, and you stop crying and screaming and embarrassing me, and you be a good boy or girl, I will get you an ice cream.
Get up now.
Right. Okay, Zorro's not listening to this podcast, okay? Because he's going to take that advice and just fall on the floor.
Yeah, but Bruce read a book a while ago, and I don't know who it was by, and they said we are always selling something.
We are.
Whether it's selling someone
for a coffee.
Do you want to come for a coffee? Do you want to go to the cinema? You were selling your, who's now your is it your wife or your partner?
Yeah,
your
my wife.
Do you want to go for a drink for me? Do you want to go for the drink with me?
Yeah,
but when you're
she's
walking down
said no,
Oxford
but anyway.
Circus steps...
But you're a
you were
salesman, you did not
pitching,
stop there.
There you go. We're
stalked
always
her, yeah.
pitching.
No, but it's that thing of it's personality, and people buy people. Like the number of salespeople that you have pitching you where there's no dance, there's no introduction, it's literally sale. It's like, no, that doesn't work. But it's that thing, I think we all have it in ourselves to kind of just buy personality.
Your mum basically was selling you when she said, "Are you crazy?"
Oh, massively,
Right?
yeah.
Trying to sell you out of it.
Yeah.
So everything we do, it's all microtransactional, and we're all selling at the end of the day. So, if we've all got this innate ability as human beings to sell, then we've all got this innate ability to be able to start a business. It's courage, I think, that is the difference.
Yeah.
Right? And having conviction and belief in yourself. And it's like, right, this might be a bit of a downer, but it's like you said, exactly right. We all die alone, and in those last moments when you got those final thoughts to yourself, do you want to be the person that's like filled with regret, or do you want to be the person that's like, do you know what, I did the best that I could?
It's funny when you mentioned about who's going to stock you your corner shop, and I think this shows a lot about mindset. And for me, there was nothing wrong with my local corner shop stocking our gin, because for me it was a start.
Yeah.
Whereas other people might have seen that, and actually it was said as a curse, but I never saw it as a curse because it's a starting point, like anything, and we will build on that. And it's honest foundations that we're laying. But we were blown away with how we launched.
But it never bothered you. It wound me up like there's no tomorrow. And anyone
Really
knows,
got to you.
Oh, anyone who knows me properly, that kind of stuff will just spur me on. And I really wanted to prove to them we can do better than the corner shop. But my fallback, hey, I'm happy to go into that corner shop. It means someone likes it. And we just had the most... It was just a chance meeting that was arranged for Harvey Nichols. So the distiller who initially made it for us, they had a meeting over some of the projects, and he calls me up and he's like, Bruce, so we've got this meeting with Harvey Nichols, do you want me to take your gin along? Now, just to build an image, we had one bottle, we had liquid for one bottle, and we had one label that went to our inkjet printer at home. So if it got wet, it looked like he's crying. It was Blue Peter style, double-sided sticky tape on.
Yeah.
I tried to make sure it was straight.
Brilliant.
I looked at Paramjit, I go, I'm going to give him this. And she's like, no. You are not giving Harvey Nichols a Blue Peter project. It's embarrassing. And I was like, but we never had this on the radar. What's the worst that's going to happen?
That's
we
the
go back
thing,
to the
you've
corner
got
shop.
the opportunity right in front of you. Do you give it a shot?
And that was it. And I just said to the guys, hey, take the bottle. I've got it for you. I went down there to their place, gave it the bottle. And then the day of the meeting was, oh my gosh, nerves or what. So we couldn't even go home. We knew he's meeting at 5 o'clock.
Crystal Palace.
We were
I
in
still
Crystal Palace,
remember this.
yeah.
We had a corner table of pizza at the Palace.
Yeah.
And we're just looking at our phone. Is he going to ring?
Half
And you're
5,
eating and
quarter
you're
to 6.
It's like a more exciting version of location.
It kind of felt, well, a lot of it's probably filmed around there. Phil pops in. No, we were sat there and around about 5 to 6. And I never get why he did it the way that he did it. So the guy who distilled for us, who went to the meeting, he calls me up whilst on the scooter, and bearing in mind he doesn't have hands-free, so he's talking to me and all I could hear was I don't know what you're saying, and all I got out of the conversation was they're interested, they really like it.
Wow.
So they might take an order. I was like, oh, yo, fucking kidding me? What? And he was like, but don't get excited. It was like this backhanded compliment. They like it, but calm down. They might only take 1 or 2 bottles. I go, mate, before you called me, it was never going to be Harvey Nichols, so can you just do me one favour? And he said, what's that? I said, can you introduce me? Like, do an email intro to the buyer. And I was glad that he did, because I then sent him, as anyone knows me, a very long waffling email, and just to see, did he like it, what does he want to do, let's have a conversation, let's at least meet. And he said, yeah, we like it, we'll take an order. I think it was like a dozen bottles. So as middle finger to the guy, he said, do I take 2? And I thought, yeah, you can always push further. And then I said, can we meet for a coffee? And we'll come over to you wherever you want. And he picked like a random time, like 3 o'clock on a Wednesday.
In Chiswick.
In Chiswick, right next to the headquarters. I was thinking, well, I can get out of work early because I start my contract early in the day. I'm a contract, I can come up with something.
Yeah.
Paramjit, I said, just say you're sick. Lunchtime you had something dodgy, just go home. And we met up at, it was the Costa Coffee in Chiswick, near the headquarters. And in my mind, I'm trying to picture, what does a head buy for Harvey Nichols look like? Gotta be suited and booted, 3-piece, the works. It's gotta look like he just came out the menswear section of the formal attire. And the most hipster guy came in that you would not believe. Very quiet, tall guy. We went upstairs, sat down. He just didn't talk. And as you'll know,
imagine someone like you guys not really being able to deal with that initially.
No, oh dear Lord, it was just, okay, if he's not going to talk, we'll talk on his behalf. So we just kept talking at him, 35 minutes straight. And then all he did was he stopped, looked at his watch, and he did the gun salute, like, got a meeting, great to meet you, catch you later. And those finger pointing, I was thinking, never in my life has that ever been a good thing. So when he left, we looked at each other and we thought, morons. We just talked ourselves out of Harvey Nichols. How the hell is that possible? We went home and...
Because they always say in a negotiation that the person talking is the one who's at a disadvantage or doesn't hold the power. It's the one who does the least talking that holds all the power.
However...
But
as we were walking home, we did think, well, that corner shop, I'm going to hit him tomorrow. Because it's the bottom of my road.
Let's just do all our contingencies, right?
I said, get things into place. That following morning, I started work at 7. And about 9ish in the morning, get an email. And he's such a git. Because as he wrote, he said, hi, Bruce, great to meet you. It was a lovely chat, but... And he put some spaces in the email. So, who the hell puts spaces in an email?
No one puts spaces in an email.
You're building drama in an email. Oh, first of all, well done, because it did build it up. And then as I scroll down, he's like, you want to cancel the order?
Oh.
Can we increase it to 78 bottles, and can we be your exclusive stockist to launch your product? And can you make sure that you hit every single store? But please, please, please finish the product first. And everyone's just like,
that's
I was
wonderful.
like, what the heck? And
This is like the best episode of The Apprentice ever.
It felt like The Apprentice. It was just like, and literally that's how it started. So I think it was something like 27th of October 2016. We officially launched in Knightsbridge. The plan that Harvey Nichols set us was you have to hit every single store before Christmas, start at Knightsbridge and end at Knightsbridge in the week leading up to Christmas. And we never knew, like, to be nationally launched by them is quite rare, especially for a gin, because gin was exploding. You normally have to prove yourself store by store. But we must have done something right, because he's like, no, you're hitting every single store. Every time you land at each city, you launch it that day.
I guess the other thing as well is when you think about, I'm trying to think of gin brands now. So Hendrick's I now know because I obviously must have drank a ton of it at this party a few weeks ago. Then you got the Bombay Sapphire gin, whatever. But then, you know, if you're looking at gins in Harvey Nicks or wherever supermarket, to suddenly see a bottle, black and white, with a pair of spectacles on that says crazy gin on it, it's got to capture your interest out of everything else, because everything else is very what's the word, you know, gin is one of those drinks that has got quite strong associations with colonialism and so on, right? And that era of was going to say Victorian Britain, but it's not really, is it? I don't know. Actually, I don't know my history. I was never interested in history at school. My teacher said, "You're not interested in this, are you?" And I was like, "It's all stuff that happened before I was born. Why would I be bothered about it?" But then you got your branding, which does stand out amongst all that kind of traditional boring stuff. So I could see why they maybe got excited about what you guys were doing. And then plus, I'm guessing in that 35-minute, like, not pausing for breath, talking at him, you were telling him your story.
And I think it always comes back down to when I'm sure people have listened over lockdown, a million podcasts about business and everything. And the key thing that always comes back in pretty much every business entrepreneurial talk that's out there is authenticity.
Yeah.
And we kept saying it's literally, it might sound weird, it's us in a bottle. And I think that's what he liked, because he's like, this is taking you through a journey, as opposed to saying, oh well, this is just distilled with this and this, and it's from this part of the country.
Our flavour profile is very different, because we never set out to make a gin or to make a drink. It was never about, it needs to hit this. This was taking someone on a journey.
Yeah.
And food and drink was so integral. I grew up with not much money, and I remember I never wore designer clothes, I didn't go on fancy holidays, but one thing I never went without was a decent meal on the table. My mom made sure every single day I was fed well. So food and drink just means so much to me, and the drink for us, not only is the flavour unique, it's representative of us, it packs a punch, you're not going to find anything else like it, but it was designed to bring people together. It's not a drink for you to sit there and have shots. It's a drink for you to either enjoy on your own or to enjoy with friends and family with food. So even when we had decided on the final version of the gin, I remember asking my mom to make a lamb curry, and we went to the bar that it was
Yes.
made. I was like, can you heat this up? Because I needed to make sure that whatever was made, it went with food. And then we took that bottle home, and you made fajitas, you made taka, you made so
It's
many
like pushing
different
the boundaries.
dishes, and it was like, does it go with food? Because for us, food and drink, it's about bringing people together. And it's more than a bottle of gin. It's way more than a bottle of gin.
And one of the greatest compliments I think we've ever had, and it still sends a shiver down my spine. It's we became friends with the head chef of a 3 Michelin star restaurant. I won't say which one, but when he's become such a good friend of ours that we were chatting, and I said to him, "Do you actually like what gets you about our gym? What do you like about it?" He said, "Do you know what? Whether I've had a good day or the shittiest of shitty days," he said, "I come home and I will have your drink because it make me feel good." And then it gets smashed on Bombay Sapphire. Yeah. I was like, "Do you know what? That's the greatest compliment, because that's very Bombay Sapphire." But he goes, "I want this as something to appreciate."
Yeah, that's right. That's the special stuff.
And I was thinking, oh my God, you, 3 Michelin star, and that's what you categorize us as. I was thinking, wow, can you get a better compliment than that? When it's chefs who really inspired us. So like, you always associate a chef with being able to taste, have a good palate.
Yeah.
But someone with a good palate saying, "Nah, do you know what? I have this because it's my special treat. If it's a great day or a bad day, to celebrate or to make myself feel better, I'll start with yours, just have one, and then get smashed on something else." And I think that's a massive compliment to it.
Wow. So it's like now I'm not even actually thinking about your product as gin at all, because the story is so powerful. So I'm thinking about all of that now. I really want to take that journey now.
Well, an interesting way to think of it is, like Paramjit said, it was never set out to be a gin. Now, in 2016, you had to categorize your spirit.
But the thing is, you didn't start from a gin anyway. You started from lassi.
Yeah, but it is a spirit carrier. So if you think of the spirit groups that you get categorized, so you get gin, rum, whiskies.
Yeah.
Whiskey will be a then you got vodkas, or you got your tequila, your mezcal that was coming in at that point. You had to be something because the shops wouldn't know where to put you.
Yeah.
And we would always question that, but you had to go along with it. We're a small brand. Can't really argue with Harvey Nichols and all these stockists. No, could you make a separate category for me? Like, no, I don't think so. But then about 2017, about a year or two after us, came out the brand that for me has broken all the molds, Empirical Spirits. Used to be the head development chef for Noma. the guys left Norma and then made their spirit, and it was not categorized as any traditional category. It's just an alcohol, and their whole thing is we're a flavor company. We care about flavor. We haven't done this with this. It's not a gin. It's not this. It's not this. This is something different. Just try it. You like it. You like it. You don't drink it.
Yeah.
And I thought, wow. But that mindset was never there when we launched. But well, not mindset, but that those kind of things didn't happen then. But for us, it's that thing of don't always think of this. I don't like gin. We always think of it. Just try it.
That's what we say when we do our tastings. We say, forget it's a gin. Just see it as a drink.
Yeah.
And we're honestly not going to be offended if you don't like it.
Yeah.
Just try it. Do you like the flavour? And that's what it comes down to. And even with my little one, when it's food, trying to take that away, it's flavour. Because if we think about Mother Nature and the pantry, a lot of the food we eat around the world is the same. Everyone has flour, everyone has water. But what we make with that flour and water is going to vary so much depending on where you're from. Does it taste good? And it's as simple as that. Does it taste good?
Yeah. And if you like it, great.
If you don't,
Buy some more, and if you don't, that's fine.
There's something else for you.
Yeah.
It's like wine. I only got into wine after meeting Bruce. It used to puzzle me. There's so many wines out there. Which one by grade, by region? Like, which one am I going to like?
It's really funny because like I had no appreciation for wine whatsoever before I met my wife, and she generally is not that fussy when it comes to wine. But there's one type of grape, Grenache. She cannot stand it. If a wine has got the Grenache grape in it, she will not touch it. She'll spit it out if you don't tell her. She just really cannot deal with that. But everything else is fine.
Cool.
Right? But that's the thing. We're all different.
We all taste differently. Not like the science just goes to back up. No two people can ever taste the same, because taste isn't just so much about the ingredient. It's also about if you're a super taste, if you're not. It's about memory linked to it. So it could take you back to like an ice cream, thinking of being a child as growing up. It could be something you had a bad experience with. Never gonna have that ever in my life. I used to hate tequila because back in the uni days, it was literally the cheapest tequila you've ever had in your life. Salt and lemon for a reason. Because it's disgusting. The worst hangover in the world.
Yeah.
And you're like, I ain't never drinking tequila again. That's it. I'm done. And then when we launch this gin, you're trying new tequilas, and actually this stuff is pretty good, you know. I don't know what I was drinking, but it's those things. That's why it's just about taste it, and if you like it, you like it. You'll know if you like something or not.
It's also what you've been subjected to growing up, because there's some ingredients and some foods that you would have eaten that you're going to have fond memories of, and there's some ingredients that are going to be absolutely new to you and you've never had it, and it's how you're going to take to that as well.
Smell comes into it a lot. So we found out when we went to Kitchen Theory with founders a few months ago now, and Chef Joseph, who sort of took us up to this mezzanine bit before the main dinner, and it was a sensory dining experience. But he gave us a jelly bean, which we popped into our mouth. But we had a clothes peg first to close the nose. Have you done this?
Yes.
It's amazing, isn't it?
He's an awesome guy.
Like taking the clothes peg off. And do you know what I do now? Whenever I'm tasting anything that's new to me, I hold my nose and then I put it in my mouth and I let it sit there to try and guess kind of what's going on. And then once it's been in there for a few seconds, then I take my hand off my nose, and then I just let the flavour hit me. And it's such a great way to experience new flavours for the first time.
Well, with Joseph, we got to meet him after I became friends with Professor Charles Spence, who is his business partner and does a lot of the science behind what they do. And I remember when I speak to Charles and he gave me all these research papers to look at. And the amazing thing was, it was even down to the level of all the taste receptors on our tongue, and how, think of when you eat a chocolate biscuit, which way do you eat it? What side is the chocolate?
Chocolate up.
Taste
Always.
receptors on your tongue, so it should be chocolate down. And we watch our son when he has a pizza or something, he eats it like we think, why is he eating a pizza upside down? But actually he's getting that hit of flavours directly on the tongue.
Yeah.
So it's interesting, but we're all conditioned because we see everybody else.
That's true, because Jaffa cakes, they were saying that we've all been eating Jaffa cakes wrong for our entire lives, because they are chocolate down, orange down, sponge up. But they never actually explained the fact that it's because your tongue's there, right? So you want to connect. So McVitie's, if you're listening, you can pay these guys to do TED Talks about your products and they'll do it better than any of your guys ever did.
But it's interesting, all the people you meet. We've met some absolutely amazing people, like you as well, as passionate people in their fields. We were invited. Had we not been on this crazy gin journey, we would never have gone to the university to do a talk.
Well, not the university, at Oxford University.
Oh my
And it
God.
all started from, if I take it back a step, so I try to thank everybody who put us on this journey. And one of the big things that happened along this journey when we were still in the design phase of the gin, I was watching Sunday Brunch. Slightly hungover in bed on a Sunday.
Bit of a theme here.
And I had the TV on, and I remember this gentleman came on, Professor Charles Spence, and he had this book called The Perfect Meal.
It's about gastrophysics.
Yeah, and it's just about, oh my God, the science behind what we hold, the cutlery, the weight, the vessel that you're eating from, how our brain breaks down the perception of flavors and through colors. And it's like, oh my God, it blew me away. Bought his book instantly, Amazon Prime, next day, boom, there we go. And then when we came to the gin, we used elements of what he's trying to teach. And it's normally for the big multinationals, but we thought, what bits can we take to add to our sensory experience? And then after we launched it...
So I was just going to say, so those are things such as having the textured paper. Now we have gone to more than 2 colours on our label, but we've embossed and debossed our label because touch is so important. The dark bottle was there, so when you pour the gin, if you're thinking lassi gin, you're going to think it's going to be yogurty, it's going to be thick. And if you told someone it's got turmeric in there, you're going to think it's yellow. But it was that surprise element that when you open the bottle and you pour it, you're going to be like, hold on a minute, I don't get it. Has this really got yogurt in there? But the taste is there. Then it was, we wanted a cork on there because of the sound of a cork when it pops. Then we've got white wax on there. And it wasn't just for the texture of the white wax and to represent the yogurt that's in there, but you're going to go through a ritual when you open the bottle, just like you open a bottle of champagne. And then we wax sealed every single bottle by hand with a stamp. Again, it's the textural feel, so every little thing is thought out to bring it together. And when you meet people like Charles Spence and Chef Joseph Youssef and Steve Keller, you realise there's a whole science to it, but on surface level you don't even realise. You pick something up and you're like, this feels good.
Yeah, totally.
And that was just from a book. But then what happened was I did reach out to Charles and say, hi Professor, you've really inspired me. I'd love to catch up with you if you ever could. He must have thought that was like some sort of business transaction because he wrote back a couple days later. He goes, yes, sounds very interesting. My day rate is, I won't say how much it was, but it made me almost fall off my chair. I wrote back and I said, no, sorry, I didn't mean I want to hire you. I actually say I want to thank you.
Yeah.
Like, if you're ever around for a beer, kind of thing, like, whatever. Listen, mate, you're taking up half my budget for launching. I was like, I don't know where this cash came from. And then I heard nothing. And about 4 months later, out of the blue, he's like, Bruce, I'm in Oxford on Wednesday or Friday. I was like, oh, I'll just say Friday. I didn't check with Paramjit. I said to Paramjit afterwards, we'll go to Wolverhampton on the weekend. By the way, we're going to stop off in Oxford. And she's like, why? And we're meeting Professor Charles Spence. She goes, well, you could have kind of told me first to check, but the impulsive nature of me. So we went there on the Friday, and it was everything you ever think of as Oxford. We went to the most Oxford of all Oxford pubs. They got ties hanging from the ceiling for whatever ritual. And he comes in and, oh my gosh, do you know when you get some people off the chart smart, but you can't have a conversation? Because it's really hard to have a conversation. I was thinking, small talk's not working here. And I was like, Charles, your book. Guy came to life. It was amazing. Then we're drinking pints and we're having fun. He's telling us about this. And we thought, he's probably just wanted a pint after uni, if I'm honest. And about 2-3 months on after that, we thought, okay, well, it was nice to have met him. He sent an email and it was literally written like, hi Bruce, I'm having a little shindig at the university. Would you like to come and show your bottles, your gin to a few friends of mine? And I'm always like, what's a shindig mean? Like 5 people? 25, 30? What's that? So Roberto, what do you mean when shindig? What size? Like, who's coming? So it's just a little thing that we've got going on. Probably about 20, 30 people. I was like, okay, cool. He says, we'll set up a trestle table for you. So as soon as you start saying shindig, trestle table, I'm thinking, was it in like someone's back garden or something? And he sets the date and everything. So me and Paramjit took the day off work, loaded up the car with all this booze, and naively, I'm just assuming, when I went to uni, it's one big main uni block, isn't it? I didn't realise Oxford is colleges.
It's got loads of different colleges,
all
houses.
over the place.
Yep.
Can you imagine stopping off and saying to someone, yeah, just want to get to the university building? Which one?
Yeah.
I go, university, do you mean the college? No, not the college, the university. No, the college is the university. Which block? I'm like going through my emails, this one. You guys, yeah, 5 minutes down the road. We're running late. And I hate running late. So we turn up and Charles meets us and everything. And there's a fair few people showcasing things. But I saw his brother was doing bread. So I thought, oh, it's like some sort of craft thing. And then we stopped and turned to our right. Somebody was 3D printing food in front of us.
Is it Heston Blumenthal?
No, but oh my God, I think he's got the equipment. I'm thinking 3D printing food. What the hell? Then I turned to the other side. There's a lady showing how fonts change your perception of food and flavour.
Oh, wow. Okay.
I was like, what are we doing in this room?
What are we doing here?
And then I looked at the
sit
list.
down.
Oh my God, they give us the breakdown of the show. And you got people talking about, they had the world expert for AR, VR. They had Joseph Youssef going up there talking about perception of flavor. I was thinking, what are we doing here? I got Charles, what's going on? Hey, enjoy yourself, relax, it's fine. Just sit and enjoy it. Just tell me a story. I love your story. And remember, I like your story, they will like your story.
Yeah.
And if they don't like your story, you tell me and I'll go speak to them. I thought, cool.
It was absolutely amazing.
Insane.
Such an eye-opener just to learn about the science of food, flavour, and we just soaked it up. It was...
Things that you take for granted, where so much science has gone into it, and you're just thinking, oh, it's only that. But no, it's really thought about.
Yeah.
And from there, that's when we met Joseph Youssef. And but we came out there and we did... It did take a few days to sink in. It's like, what the hell? We just invited to Oxford Uni.
Yeah.
To some world experts.
Yeah, but it really does open up your eyes because you realise that a lot of things that we do take for granted don't just happen by chance.
No.
Not just someone kind of knocked up some idea in some bottle and stuck it on a shelf. You know what I mean? There's
Yeah.
a lot of psychology goes into it, and you know that because you're a psych grad. You know, all the rest of it. I mean, you look at my world in clothing,
Yes.
or just,
Yeah.
you know, now I can't stop looking at nature after spending time with Natasha Gupta from Blue Feather Interiors on the last episode. And, you know, she says something really, really interesting to me because one thing I get a lot is clients will say, you know, I don't know if I could pull that off, or I don't know if that colour combination works. And, you know, Natasha said, because I said to her, how do you look at colours and things when you're looking at interiors for restaurants and things like that? And she said, you know, I know there's an Instagram post of hers actually. She said, you know, if it works in nature, then it will work in life.
Love
Something
that.
like that.
I like that. That's lovely.
That's something much bigger than all of us.
Yeah.
So much bigger. I love that.
And so now that's really simplified everything back down to me. So now I just take inspiration from everything that's around me. But then, you know, it's also things like when we first started our brand, and I had a lot of clients that came with me, so they'd been used to a way of doing things for the corporate entity I was with before. And obviously what I wanted to show was the fact that what we're doing has got a lot of love and passion. Like you guys, I'm super inspired by Michelin star chefs. I've read so many biographies of you know, Gordon Ramsay and Pierre White and all those kind of people. And I'm fascinated by the way that kitchens work as well, and the way that they construct dishes and so on, which is why, you know, I said to Joseph, I said to him, like, if you ever want to hire me as an assistant for a week, I will quite happily stop what I'm doing,
And
drop
if you
everything.
need an assistant whilst you're assisting him,
Exactly. We'll have this little train of assistants. So I'm always fascinated by that sort of thing, but you know, for me it was kind of like the first thing I need to give people is my business card, and so I didn't want just any old business card that you could get from some whatever stationer or online jobby or whatever. It had to have some tactile feel to it, there had to be texture to it, you know, the lettering needed to be just raised enough that it stopped people when they took it. So it wasn't like you hand it, they take it away. It's they go to take it from you and then they stop and you're both holding on to this thing for just a couple seconds before you let go of it and let them because what we do is more about relationships than the clothing is just a byproduct of that. And then it's the same with what you guys do as well, because it's like now, whenever I drink anything that you guys have produced, it's my connection to you that is going to be the overriding sensation of that experience. Does any of this make any sense?
Completely.
Yeah, because it is that thing of it's more than just a conversation, it's more than just a product.
It's service. I know
Yeah.
I've now stopped going to certain stores because I just don't like the way I'm spoken to or treated. And now, I think more so now, being setting up our own business, I appreciate independence more than I did before, because really you're waiting for those food, drink, independent people to come in, and it makes a big difference. Whereas the Tesco Express down the road, it's not going to make that much difference to them, but to that independent business, it is going to make so much more difference.
Yeah. I'm so sorry, but we've come to the end of part 1. You had a great time, right? I told you you would. Part 2 will be available next week, and you want to make sure you don't miss it, because Paramjit and Bruce continue their story, but it takes a rather horrible turn. A tale of unexpected and insurmountable odds, and powerful lessons in how to overcome them. If you fancy trying some crazy gin, simply search Crazy Gin, or check the show notes for Paramjit and Bruce's links. Don't forget that Tailoring Talk is now on Instagram at Tailoring Talk Podcast, and you know I love feedback, so you can also email the show directly at tailoringtalkpodcast@gmail.com. Please remember to subscribe, rate and review. You can also click the share button in your player to send the show on to people you know. If you're enjoying Tailoring Talk and feel compelled to throw some change our way and support the show, you can now buy me a coffee at buymeacoffee.com/Roberto Revilla. Have a great week, and I'll see you on the next one.